Hello and welcome to Just Onside. It's Sunday. I'm in sunnier climes. I'm not too far away from you, Oris. So, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Ayub. Here in the UAE, family's gone back home to the UK since nearly a week now. So I've been on my own. But yeah, I'm doing fine, Ayub. How about yourself?
Not too bad at all. I arrived in Turkey yesterday, Antalya. Really warm. It's 40 degrees. I know how you feel now. So I'm here for medical reasons, getting the old lashes done. Treatment starts tomorrow, so hopefully, inshallah, it'll all be good. We're shooting this impromptu. Obviously, we weren't planning on shooting, but obviously there were some tragic events earlier on in the week. Something that was a huge shock. I'm still stunned after hearing uh, the death of Diogo Jota and his brother on. I believe it was Tuesday from a car crash. It's. I think the world is stunned. Well, at least certainly the footballing world is stunned. So we thought we'd do a tribute to a fantastic player, a fantastic man. Uh, and that's the reason why we're shooting because it really is. I think it sort of stunned a lot of people. It's given people thought it, for a little bit of perspective on life as well. So I'll ask you first, OS. What were you doing when you heard about the accident? And obviously, it was immediate, wasn't it? It wasn't just a case of it's an accident. The news was straight away, instant that he's passed away and his brother. So, where were you, and what's your thoughts, and maybe I suppose a sort of comments about Diego Jota, the footballer and the man.
Yeah, absolutely. You've just to answer your question directly. I was at work when news started to filter through, and my good friend actually, who's living in Abu Dhabi, Arif, someone you know, I think you've met before, he
Hmm.
texted me just simply with the word gutted. So I was a bit surprised. It's rare for him not to elaborate. It was simply just one word. He's a diehard Liverpool supporter. I obviously then Googled news. I thought just in case. So I went to skysports.com and there it was. The news, utter shock, disbelief. I've spent the last week following a lot of news and the fallout, obviously, of the incident. You look into his obviously life, is the fact that he's obviously recently just got married, which I'll touch on as well. But just yeah, still reeling from a state of shock and sadness, to be honest with you. Makes me think on a slightly wider picture, if you just allow me. Um, the sadness for me, the overarching sadness is of the fact that he's just recently got married, and he's got three very young children. And his children, I think, four, two, and one. And it brought some similarities just in that particular context, Ayub, of somebody we know very well who lost their life last year. Uh, he also had
Hmm.
three young children, I believe, all of a very tender age. And I remember speaking about it because we spoke about it on here,
Hmm.
the fact that the sad element, which is very difficult to overcome, which kind of chokes you a little bit, is the fact that those children will not get to forge the memories and the experiences with their father and vice versa, obviously for the rest of their life. And a lot of what we do as parents, you're a parent, I'm a parent, a lot of what we live in terms of experiences of life is through the ages of our children. So when our children are tender, you're obviously in a very kind of looking after them phase, so to speak. As they start to develop a bit of a personality, it's a lot more enjoyable. You have a lot more fun. And then obviously as they grow up, you're trying to prepare them and prepare them for the values and shape them and explain to them and try and mold them a little bit into being decent, hopefully human beings. That's the kind of experience. So we live in a sense through them vicariously through their own ages, given the fact that Diogo Jota's three children were of such a tender age. Jota was still just merely starting his own life because it's a very different phase when you're starting to raise children. You then start to see the scenes and the pictures of him playing with his children at Anfield after the final day, dressed in Liverpool gear with his kids. Very cute, lovely to see. You can see he's obviously a very doting father. Great scenes from the wedding just in June 2025, a couple of weeks ago. A lot, obviously, friends and family attended. A lot of Liverpool players and staff attended as well. And you're thinking at that stage, as a human being, Ayub, you're thinking, I've got the whole world ahead of me. Life is good. He's just come back from a what many didn't know was a career-threatening injury, this lung injury that he had. It wasn't very well publicized. I know somebody in Liverpool hospital who actually came across him in terms of the fact that when he had his surgery, and it did come out that it was quite a serious injury. And obviously, you hear some of the fallout, Ayub, about the fact that he was on his way to a ferry. He was advised not to fly.
Mm,
Such is fate that that should happen. Obviously, footballers normally tend to fly, especially what was or what would be a very short haul flight, in a sense, from Spain and what have you. So, a lot of sadness. He would have obviously been ecstatic. Liverpool won the Premier League last year, so they met their ultimate objective. He's won the Nations League with Portugal. They're one of the favourites heading into the World Cup in America next year. He's probably coming back hoping to have a really strong pre-season so that he can really hit the road running. Peak of his powers at the age of 28, Ayub. So really probably hoping to have a really strong season so he can really meet his own personal objectives and obviously for his national team as well, heading into a huge World Cup next summer. And all of that is tragically taken away for himself and his brother. And you think about the parents, Ayub, just very quickly, just from my first stanza. Obviously, parents losing two young sons, children losing their fathers, wives and fiancés losing their partners, and it just you think about the tragedy that's unfolded and all of the hopes and dreams that you have as human beings in terms of growing up and thinking this is how we're hopefully going to live our lives and hopefully in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, this is what we'll be doing. A lot of that is again shaped through children as you start to have kids. And for that to be tragically taken away so that those children won't ever have those experiences. And I mean, the eldest is for you. So you think, what memory will they have of their father as they grow old? Of course, pictures and photos and memories and holiday pictures and all of the different things for sure. But that's an underlying sadness that can never really be um, overcome. So it shapes an entire life, an entire generation moving forward. The fact that Diogo Jota and his brother Andre have lost their lives at such a tragic age. And the last comment I would make, Ayub, is that there are times when footballers, I mean, I love sports, you love sports. It's probably my first love. And often the whole lifespan of a sporting hero, let's say you think about, wow, like I used to watch this boxer or this footballer, what have you, when Maradona passed away, or you think, wow, an iconic footballer, Kobe Bryant in basketball a couple of years ago, Shane Warne famously, obviously, a few years ago. But often these footballers or these sportsmen have had their careers or lived their lives, and then they, whether it's through tragic reasons or whether it's underlying health issues or what have you, but there's a way to process it to some extent,
mm,
even though there's a certain shock that hits you. I mean, Shane Warne, I still think about from time to time. I'm sure it's the same for you.
mm,
Watch Sky Sports and the debates he used to have with NASA and Rob Key and all the rest of it. Um, but this one, just in terms of a player at the peak of his powers, a high profile player playing for a high profile club, playing for a high profile country, with all of slap bang in the middle of his peak. For this to happen, this does hit very differently. And I'll just quickly summarize by saying that maybe this time will pass in terms of this feeling that perhaps you're feeling, for sure I'm feeling. I've been following a lot of the fallout. The funeral was obviously yesterday and what have you. But right now, genuinely, I don't really care for next season too much. It's a very sad feeling. You think to yourselves, Liverpool fans would have been hoping, desperate to win the Premier League last year. They meet that objective, Ayub, and every single fan to a T would give all of that back just so that Diogo Jota could be alive here today because it's not really worth it. It's
mm,
immaterial. It's so in a sense small compared to what's happened right now. So right now it's not really you're not in a really, or at least I'm not in a good frame of mind to enjoy football, follow transfer news, the speculation, the news and the noise that you would hear normally around June, July, August as you're heading into a big season, obviously a big season for Leeds. A lot of that is numb. A lot of that just feels a very, in a sense, you feel wrong for feeling
mm.
any type of excitement whatsoever. So yeah, a lot of sadness, Ayub. Yeah, it's an incredibly shocking. news, and again, just the way it's happened in terms of having young children and just getting married, your heart breaks really for his friends and his family.
Well put, yes. I mean, it was, I was at work as well. I think most people were at work when the news broke. I mean, I was in a meeting, and occasionally in a meeting, I'll just check. So obviously, when I saw that, it sort of was quite a dislocating feeling. And obviously, I had to carry on in the meeting, but it was difficult to process. I mean, it's been a strange 2.5 years. And I'll put it against the backdrop of obviously the conflict in the Middle East as well, because death has just become. Now, I would never say that I've become immune to death, but it's been a horrific 2.5 years. Because I'm somebody that really takes an interest in what happens in the world. So death now is something, or mortality is something, because obviously you hear about young children being blown to bits, women, children, men. It's something which is constant, and uh, the only difference is, and it is, I suppose with Diogo Jota, that's it's a little bit more jarring. The jolt is much more pronounced, in a sense, because it's somebody that you can associate, or you are aware of, and that's always the case. I think uh, it's death should always be something, especially if it's death where it's unpredictable. It's of innocence, or and it sort of shocks you. But I suppose when it's somebody like Diego Jota, obviously it's somebody that you're aware of. Obviously, we've never met him personally, but we at least know who he is. Uh, and I think with Diego Jota as well, he always came across as a fantastic human being. I mean, he's one where it's almost your everyman. I mean, he didn't have a fancy haircut. He wasn't full of tattoos. He didn't have a glitzy lifestyle. His wife, who was his girlfriend up until about 2 weeks ago, was his childhood sweetheart. They've been together a long, long time. I mean, I've heard some wonderful tributes, none more so from his mother, that he was a very, very simple child. It was
Yeah.
just a case of football and PlayStation. He didn't go out drinking with his mates. He was a very, very simple. He was well brought up. He was very respectful. He's done a lot of work, and maybe that perhaps sort of magnifies the hurt that you feel, because in a sense he is an everyman. Uh, it's a huge, huge shock, and I think what always I look at is not just a footballer, because I think he was a sensational footballer. He was one of my favorite footballers. He was clever. He was smart. He always found those pockets. He was somebody that when they played, I mean, he had a lot of injuries. He was always sort of plagued with injuries, but whenever he played, he brought something different, something special to that Liverpool football side. He was well liked, hugely liked, not just by his own teammates, but I think by footballers across the world. I mean, the outpouring of grief really reflects how good a human being he was, and it's the person that I always look at in the end. It's the legacy that you leave, and you're absolutely right. You've covered the impact that it'll have on his children, his wife, his mother, his father. I mean, to lose two sons in such a tragic, tragic way. I mean, how do you process that? How do you process that? So I can't imagine to think how they would feel, how all the people associated will feel. I mean, there is that sort of brutal, brutal comment that people made that ultimately life has to go on. The football season will go on. Liverpool players, I think there has been some sort of delay. I think they were going to start, I think, pre-season. I think there's been some sort of delay to that, just for players to process it, because it must be. I think, and it was interesting to know that Van Dijk, Salah, I think Robertson, maybe they waited 1 or 2 days before they actually posted something on social media, and that reflects the impact it must have had. I think it's one of those where it must have taken some time to process it all. It really shows you the fragility of life. I mean, sometimes I talk to younger people, and there's a sort of certain invincibility. It's almost as if there is no sort of reflection on how fragile life can be. Ibrahim Kanate put a really nice post where obviously he expressed his condolences, but he also talked about how precious life is, appreciate life, grasp those moments, show affection, love. In a sense, it was almost a life lesson that uh, don't take anything for granted. No matter how, whether you're old, whether you're young, it can end in a flash. But a tragic event. And I know that the backdrop was. I mean, there were some people sort of commenting that look, there's people dying in the Middle East. There's people dying all over the world. Why should Diego Jota's death be more important than any other death? There was a Palestinian footballer who was killed, who was slaughtered. He hardly got, if any, coverage at all. And I think it's a tough one because it's not a case of we're prioritizing Diego Jota. It's just that I suppose he's more known. He's well known. In a sense, it's almost a human sort of reaction that you're much more likely to put comments and have an association with somebody that you're familiar with. So I don't think in any way, certainly for my part, I mean, I never ever view any life more important than any other life. It's just that Diego Jota is somebody that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But a tragic, and really it will be. I don't know how Liverpool go forward from this. I mean, they have to. I mean, that is the brutal reality of life. But how do you think they'll process it, Liverpool? I mean, as a team. I mean, do you think this will almost? I mean, it's a team that's bonded because obviously they won the league. But do you think this will even give them more fire in the belly once they process it? Will they do it for Diego Jota?
I don't think they'll ever process it. No, I think the football club and players are a tight-knit group. It's not always the games, is it? It's more the bus rides, the plane rides, the training, the fun that you have in and around the place. I don't think you overcome that. I don't think you process it ever just because of the way it's happened. You're expecting to rejoin pre-season, so you're kind of going to see everybody in a week or so time. And for this to happen, a lot of the football players from Liverpool and other clubs were there at the funeral. Obviously, Fernandez, some of them flying in from Saudi. Just want to touch quickly on what you said, Ayub, about his mother. I think the story was about his mother that I think when he grew up, and I don't want to get this mistaken, but he was one of those childs didn't ask for anything,
Mm,
PlayStation or what have you. He knew that we could have just about stretched it, but he never asked, even though I think they got him one for one of his birthdays or something. But you're right, it tells you a little bit about his kind of values growing up. Very well thought of around the place. There's a heartbreaking clip of him talking about how he's asked about his best friend, and it's Ruben Neves, where they shared a lot of time at obviously Wolves and then Portugal as well, and obviously Neves played on I think Saturday or Friday
mm.
was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then flew immediately afterwards to be at the funeral, carrying the coffin next to his wife as well. Heartbreaking scenes to see that, yeah, especially like you said, your good friends, your best friends, you're contacting each other probably every couple of days, staying in touch, planning things together, holidays, breaks, whatever it might be, catch ups. And for him to then obviously fly over at 10 and be at the funeral for his best friend, it must be incredibly sad. Must be just a out of body experience in terms of having to do that at such a tender age. Um, yeah, shocking. Coming back to Liverpool, I mean, Mo Salah spoke about it, Ayub, that he's scared to go back. That was his comment. I understand what he means. Going back to the dressing room where you're going to see where he would have sat,
Mm, mm,
to see his shirt. And look, over the next season, no doubt his song, his famous song, he's from Portugal, better than Figo, don't you know? I mean, these are, that song will be sung from in Anfield every single game. A lot of the away fans, every away game will be sung as well. No doubt when they score goals, they'll pay homage to Diogo Jota. You expect Liverpool just because of the nature of the club, and any club would be like this, but Liverpool especially, their fans will
mm.
make sure that his memory, his legacy lives on in a very vocal way throughout games, throughout the season, what have you. Whether it inspires them, I'm not sure, Yub. It's just a devastating piece of news, and I don't think you can ever recover from losing one of your own in such an unexpected way. I don't think that's just something you'd have to be a sociopath to just be like, well, we can put this to one side. Yes, they're professionals, but as we always say, underlying through it all, they are human beings. And when you've won big games, big moments, and had great experiences with the player, just as a human being, little things, going for walks before games and and pre-season trips, whether it's abroad and having a good old time. You build so many amazing memories and bonds that you just never expect something like this to happen, and that's the thing that you take for granted. So.
Mm,
Yeah, listen, I think they'll do their absolute best next year to try and remember his legacy or have that at the forefront in terms of having some inspiration to achieve all of their targets. But I keep coming back to it, every single one of them, players, manager, coaches, staff, fans, would give up all of that to have Diogo Jota alive today. And that, in a sense, gives you the stark contrast of what is ultimately a game that we play or that we follow compared to human life, where, again, for his family, his mom, his dad, again, for them to lose two sons in such a tragic fashion.
mm,
And for his wife, you saw the post on Instagram, a lifetime ahead of memories, childhood
mm.
sweethearts, three young children that will never now get to know their father or have experiences with their father, which is what is heartbreaking. So, yeah, very sad one. And I just don't think, I think the entire season will be, in a sense, overshadowed to some extent, and rightly so, because human life
Mm.
ultimately trumps all.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I hope it's the case in terms of that there's a constant reminder of, or at least a memory. But the sad truth for me is that life does go on. That's the way that we live these days. Now, I think with Liverpool, you are absolutely right. It's a unique football club, and I think the tributes that they will pay, the respect and the homage that we'll pay, will be different to perhaps any other football club. They are a family. There is something quite sort of unique about the Liverpool fan base as well. And really, I think that first game at Anfield. I mean, I don't know whether their first game is at Anfield, but the emotion's going to be absolutely, it's going to be another level. I think there's going to be lots and lots of tears because I think it's something that is a reflection of how good a character I think Jota was, and I think that's the thing that's sort of come across, that there are sort of players and sportsmen that have passed prematurely. I mean, there are lots and lots of sort of sporting uh, sort of heroes, players that I've come across that have been taken far too early. But there is something about Jota because of the character. Because I think that's the one thing that sort of came across. I mean, I think Mourinho was at Anfield yesterday as well. There was lots of sort of ex-players, ex-managers, obviously paying their tributes. And the one thing with Mourinho is he's a colourful character, but there are times where he absolutely speaks from the heart.
Yeah,
There is no filter, and it was really, really special as well. I mean, the way that he described Jota again, it's how good a human being this guy
yeah,
was. And as I said, it's somebody that you could see in his face, in his demeanor, in his appearance, that he was just a normal chap who was extremely talented at football, who had a really successful career thus far. But everything about him told you, as I said, childhood sweetheart, just got married, three children, a loving family, parents that adored him. Everything about him was really what 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 embodies sort of what good human beings should be all
yeah,
about, and that's perhaps why for me it's much more demoralizing because he was one of life's good guys. And it's sort of character that you don't begrudge any success. And I think what Liverpool have done, albeit, I mean, it's not probably much for them, but they are going to honour the contract in terms of the finances. I mean, I don't think it would have been an issue anywhere, but in a sense, you just knew that Liverpool would do something like that. And it will be. I think that first game at Anfield is just going to be heartbreaking. And I was convinced Liverpool were going to have a good season. I think. I mean, as I said, this is. I mean, it's not as if they're going to try any harder, but maybe this is going to be for Diego Jota. Maybe they might just sort of say, right. I mean, we were going to give it everything, but maybe we just need to sort of make sure that Diego's memory is honoured. And the best way that we can do it as a football club is to win trophies. But it's devastated. It's sad, and I hope it's a moment that a lot of people have reflected. And I'm talking about the young as well. I think
yeah,
it's one where I think life is fragile, and I think mortality. I mean, it's a morbid subject if you think about it every single day, but it's a subject that people should think about because if you think about mortality, in a sense, you might alter your behavior. You might try and be a good person because, in a sense, you know that you're here not for an indefinite amount of time, but a finite amount of time. So I hope if there is anything that people sort of can look at it from a positive, I hope they look at it from the point of view that maybe they just might be a little bit more loving, a little bit more
Yeah.
caring, a little bit more considerate, and maybe those around you, show them if you love them, tell them. So I hope there is something that is to be gained from this devastating uh, thing that's happened.
Yeah. You spoke about Mourinho. Yeah, I think he was at, I think he made the comments at Silverstone because I think the Grand Prix is taking place today. So
Oh, all right, okay,
I
okay,
think he
yeah.
was there, at least from the backdrop that I could see. I think he was there. But you're right. He spoke about the very points that you mentioned about how, we always say when somebody passes on, he's a good guy. This guy really was a good guy, to your point. And I think there was another tribute shared by an Arsenal fan, which kind of encapsulated a lot of the feeling within the footballing world, which was that I think he mentioned something along the lines of how when Jota used to come on or play against Arsenal, Arsenal fans used to be very wary because he's obviously scored many goals against them. And the comment was that, I'd do anything just to see you score against us again,
Mm,
score many more goals. And I think that is what, in a
mm,
sense, the human race should be. It's not about there's too much conflict, too much disagreement, too much, let's say, as opposed to thinking more from a collective community perspective. And if there's one thing that, like you said, this tragic event should allow you to consider is that some of that is just futile. This is just a nonsense and a game that we all follow and play. And listen, I love football like you love football. We love following the game. We love it. It's in our blood to some extent. But it's nice that that overarching the spirit that permeates ultimately is one of a community,
mm.
and that human life is more important than anything. And I think maybe it is because we're fathers and we're parents and we see things perhaps very differently. Um, but I just can't get away from the fact that, like I said, the pictures that you see, the wedding pictures of him in his lovely blue suit, I think it is. His wife obviously looks beautiful. It's a day that all young ladies look forward to in terms of the wedding day. It's dreamt up. It's going to be magical. They've got their beautiful three kids, adorable, in the picture, and you can just imagine where emotionally Diogo Jota would have been. Premier League,
Mm.
Nations League, married, three lovely kids. You're thinking, right, this is my time now to really, kind of go on, kick on, and maybe win more stuff with Liverpool, and personally do great things with the kids, and head into a World Cup, and all of that is tragically taken away. So I think it's just devastating to see his wife yesterday at the funeral being held up while she's also helping to carry the coffin out from the chapel. It's heartbreaking to see. But yeah, it's a very sad event, and I don't think it's something that people will forget or should forget, because to your point, that should be something that we reflect upon the fragility of life, and ultimately, I guess, wishing well for his family moving forward, who will never overcome this tragic event, and it will have an impact for future generations in that family as well. So it's just beyond tragic.
Yeah, very well said, OS. And that more or less will be it for us. I mean, it was just something that we felt we had to do. I mean, it's a we wanted to offer our thoughts on the passing of Diego Jota, and as we've sort of reflected upon, he was a remarkable human being, and maybe that's perhaps the legacy that he will leave. That it was not just the footballing ability, but it was how good a person he was, and really, in a sense, maybe it's albeit it's 28 years taken far too soon, but the legacy at least will be that when his children do grow up, they'll hear wonderful stories of not how good a footballer he was, but how good a man he was. And maybe perhaps that something will be a little bit of solace for those children who obviously will grow up, and maybe for his wife as well, that at least she'll say that at least she had wonderful time. And there's a lot of people who perhaps never have the opportunity of spending time with some wonderful people. So maybe perhaps in time, it will be easier to cope with. I don't think it'll ever be easy, but it will be easier to cope with. But that's our sort of tribute, and I think it was I think some people were commenting on why the funeral was so quick, and I think it's the strain of Catholicism that he follows as well, that they have to do it within 3 days. Very much so, I suppose, in the way that I think for us within Islam, that there's a certain time frame that the burial needs to happen. But for our part, I mean, it's, I mean, obviously, I mean, we extend our condolences, but a tragic event, and then let's see sort of how things sort of move forward from here. So for our part, it's been a sad show. It's not something that we look forward to doing, but I felt we were compelled that we had to do. So until the next time, take care. Love those people around you. Tell them, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ra.